Now, live from the 2015 Vancouver International Wine Festival, Anthony Gismondi and Casey Wilson. This is Tony and Casey's Best of Food and Wine on CIL 650.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Best of Food and Wine. It's Saturday night.
This is the party night.
We're not sure what's going to happen in front of us, but the doors are just about to open, and we can just imagine. The crowd has been sold out for Saturday night for over 2 months now, which always makes for a very entertaining evening. But the reason they come is to taste wine, and our first guest is someone who knows a lot about wine, HowardDuncan.
Yeah, and I'm afraid of the guy sitting next to me.
You're afraid of him?
Yes.
Why? Well, you haven't even met him.
Well, I know, but you're talking about the crowd on the floor, never mind the dudes that sit beside me.
HowardDuncan, Director of Sales and Marketing from Teusner. Teusner's been one of the big hits of the show. Welcome to the show.
Nice to be here, Anthony.
Yeah, you've been coming to Vancouver for quite a long time.
I think this is 20 years.
Yeah.
I first came here in
Amazing.
94, 95.
Yeah. Teusner's a newer company, though, when we talk about Barossa.
Yeah, you know, we're, when did we start? 2001.
Yeah.
Over a number of Cooper's Pale Ales. So, you know, that's only 15 years old?
You guys have a great image of a bunch of young guys just messing it up and making great wine. How did you form that image?
My wife has a view that I don't actually go to work. There's no way you can have that much fun and call it work. I think that's all enshrined in, you know, Kim Teusner as winemaker and Mick Page, his best mate and his business partner. They walked into wine for one reason, and that was to have fun. And they say that every day, the first day that they realise it's not having fun, they'll give it away. So, and that just flows through the other 6 people that work there, myself included.
Well, I visited you guys, and you all look like you're having fun. It's a small place, but a lot of wines are made there, and with a lot of interest. What's the ethos of the property? What's going on at Teusner?
Pretty simple, and I think we're a great example of what's good about the Barossa as a winemaking community overall. That, you know, you got a group of young guys, well, relatively young, you know, a 14-year-old winery that gets an opportunity to play in vineyards that are 7, 8, sometimes 10 years older than our business, and that's a rare thing. So it's pretty simple. You know, one, have fun. We take enormous pleasure out of what we do, and we should do. I mean, you know, making wine, selling wine, drinking it, talking about it is great fun. We just try and keep things simple at the winery. You know, we're just making a drink. We're not saving lives. Yep. So it's really just about taking the flavour that you see sitting in those vineyards. And I know that's, you know, it's an old line that everybody peddles out, but that's the reality of what we do. You know, there's great flavour there. Just stick that in the centre of the glass and let that do the talking. And probably the most important thing to us is the idea of that continuance of the generations of grape growers that have looked after these vineyards. So in some cases, you know, we're like the Ribke family, we're talking 6th generation looking after those vineyards. So probably the most important thing to us when we get out of bed in the morning is to make sure that we're paying them good money for their grapes, because one, they work hard and they're very good at what they do, but it's just essential that they're making money and doing what they do. Because if they're making money, the kids are sitting around the dinner table at night time, mum and dad are happy. The kids want to stay in the business, they want to take over, and there's this next generation that comes in. So, you know, I apologise if my Shiraz is probably $1 or $2 more expensive than maybe some others, but it starts at that basis of paying a farmer a good,
what they deserve.
What they deserve, and keeping them in the game. You know, the Barossa changes as a community. If we lose farming families, if vineyards are sold out to corporations, investors, we lose a community. We lose very much the essence of
and
Barossa.
You lose the information that's passed down from generation to generation, which is really valuable in the wine business.
Absolutely. You know, if you're a 15-year-old kid and you're sitting at the dinner table, and it's not unusual to have your father, your grandfather, and often your great-grandfather sitting at that table. They've all had their hands in that vineyard over the previous 60 years. So what they can tell you in a year when you get hit with some atypical vintage conditions, and somebody can say, hey, guess what? 1974, we saw the same thing, and this is what we did.
Right.
And that's passed down.
We like to get the doctor to sit at that table, because I always, when I visit a winery and I see the son, the father, and the grandfather, and I think, man, you know, there must be something going on in the wine business. you don't see that everywhere else.
It's remarkable. There's got to be something in this stuff. Because
okay, we got to get to the wine now. We actually aren't going to taste the Ribke Shiraz, but you mentioned the name. So let's start there, because that wine is available, widely available in British Columbia under the Teusner label.
Absolutely, yeah. That's kind of our go-to wine in British Columbia at the moment. You know, Shiraz is popular, so that's the Ribke Shiraz, named after the Ribke family. I said they've been farming grapes for 120 years, so they're almost getting good at it. And
we did a seminar on the Barossa last night. So how would you tell our listeners, like, what is a Barossa Shiraz? Is there any way to put your finger on that, or
we would use the term instant gratification?
Yeah. And that's a super positive, too, because other people would say, well, gee, that wine, they can drink it now. Tell us about instant gratification and winemaking and that sort of thing, tasting.
Look, it really starts, you know, one of the things in the Barossa, we don't struggle with ripeness. We're in a warm district. And so right now, back in Australia, we are in the middle of what could only be described as a Shiraz tsunami. Everything's coming in, everything's coming up roses all at the same time at the moment. Yeah. So, you know, we've had some warm days, but right now we're seeing a forecast out for at least the next 4 weeks, 25 to 28 degrees. So we're never in a rush to get those grapes off the vine.
Yeah.
You know? So ripeness doesn't trouble us. Colours there, so you've got flavour, you've got depth of character. It's not a problem for us. So why would you, as a winemaker, try and sort of work against what nature delivers?
You're getting the phenolic ripeness that everybody else in the world's waiting for, usually at the end of the harvest.
Sitting there and looking at the horizon and thinking winter's coming, that's not an issue for us. Over-ripeness is the problem, and that has been an issue in the past. But I think you head around this show now and you taste wines there. There's plenty of flavour, but there's brightness and there's freshness. These wines are alive.
Yeah. Okay.
Howard, what was your first job in wine?
You know, I had a very short career in dishwashing.
Oh, okay.
And after 3 months, I kind of figured there's maybe something more to life. So I just started working in restaurants selling wine. And then I first came here to the festival, I think in 95, with Wolf Blass.
Oh.
So I've been incredibly fortunate in life to work with Wolf Blass. Then I worked for some guy called Peter Lehman. So men...
A couple of pretty passionate guys.
Yeah, look, men have great self-belief.
Yeah, totally.
They both came to market. You know, Wolf came here with the first Australian wines to sell over $10 in Canada.
Yeah.
People thought he was a lunatic.
Yeah.
Yes.
He made extraordinary wines, and I think really changed the face of Australian wine. Peter, of course, is just one of the great men of wine around the world, and he's a great moral compass for the Barossa.
Sure.
And I think that's what his ultimate legacy was.
Self-belief, I love that. All right, the wine we have in front of us that we can actually smell and taste.
This is the first wine we ever made. This was a winery that started almost by accident. Both Kim Teusner and his best mate Mick Page were gainfully employed at the Torbreck Winery, and one late afternoon down at the pub after a few beers, they were overhearing a couple of grape growers that were having a bit of a whinge about the price they were getting paid for the family's 80-year-old Grenache vineyard.
Wow.
And it was at the point that, despite 4 generations of being persistent and seeing, you know, the vagaries of fashion, they're going to tear it out. And Kim thought, well, that's lunacy, because despite the fact that, you know, the perception out there is that, you know, Shiraz is the best thing you can get out of the Barossa, well, we got a belief that Grenache is actually much, much better. So Kim, fueled by more than a few pale ales, just simply tapped the grower on the shoulder and said, I'll buy the fruit. You tell me what price you need to keep that thing in the ground, and I'll buy the fruit.
Wow.
And he did. And so the vineyard stayed in the ground. TeusnerWines comes to life, and it really was only ever intended to be, you know, make a bit of wine, sell it to family and friends, and just continue making wine elsewhere. But it grew and grew. So Joshua was the first wine. It was named, you know, this is a bright, youthful, juicy wine, and it was named after the youngest member of the family at that stage, which was Joshua Page. There's also a little nod there to the heritage of the Barossa as a winemaking district. You know, we've very fortunate. We've been growing grapes, making wine since the 1840s. We've got the oldest Shiraz, Grenache, Mataro vineyards in the world. You know, in some cases, the Grenache in here is celebrating its 100th birthday. Must be around this year. One of the original descendants of the Teusner family to arrive in South Australia was a Joshua Teusner. So a little bit on each side.
Nice.
So
nice mix.
65% Grenache. Grenache gives you that lovely sort of bright, juicy red fruit.
Raspberry, juicy.
Lots of spice. right at the core of this wine, which really makes it work and drives it, is a grape variety that we call Mataro, which the rest of the world would know as Mourvèdre, but Australians probably
How
not
did
so-
you get that name, Mataro? Do we know?
The research that I've done is that the vine collections that arrived in Australia, which came in the 1820s, so the vines are not native to Australia.
Right.
So cuttings were taken across France and Spain by a gentleman called James Busby in the 1820s,
Sure.
brought out to Australia to propagate vineyards in Australia. And so what we can guess is that in visiting the Rhone, he's been introduced to the grape variety as Mourvèdre, and he's catalogued it as Mourvèdre. He's gone to Spain. It's probably been catalogued twice, one as Monastrell and one as Mataro.
Yeah.
And that's how it's probably ended up in South Australia as Mataro, whereas Victoria has always referred to it as Mourvèdre.
So that's would you say the structure or the center of the wine?
That's the center of the wine that it hangs on. That's 25%. What Mourvèdre brings to a wine, lovely dark, deep colour, but they're quite it's a tannic variety.
Yeah.
So it does bring that tannic, the structure to the wine. It also brings this lovely sort of savoury edge, which dovetails very nice into the spice of Grenache. And equally, when it comes to the Shiraz component, which is only 10%, Shiraz in its nature can be a little sweet. So a little savoury with a little sweet brings some balance. The big decision here is that this is not aged in oak whatsoever.
Yeah.
So it's just all about bright, juicy,
very
fruit.
Pure wine.
Yeah,
very delicious.
Very pure. Yeah. Someone described this on Thursday night as being, that's very Sunday afternoonable.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a very good descriptor.
Howard, I can't think of a better guy to kick off the show tonight, and thanks for accommodating us today to come by. I know you're going to have a very busy booth tonight. I can see the lineup already from here.
Look at that.
Maybe you're happier over here, but
radio does work, people.
Yeah, it's been a great week, for Australia. I think everybody's got to be pretty happy with the show and what's been done.
It's been great to finally bring the real Australia to town.
Yeah, fantastic.
Have you got your sparkling at the booth?
No, I do not.
I just love the description, built for bacon.
Built for bacon. We've got to have a wine for every time of the day. So
That's great.
HowardDuncan, he comes from Teusner in the Barossa Valley. Thanks so much. Have a great night tonight and enjoy your stay in Vancouver. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Casey.
Thank you.
Good to see you. You're listening to a special edition of the Best of Food and Wine coming to you live from the floor of the Vancouver International Wine Festival. It's year 37. Of course, Australia is the theme. Shiraz is the undercurrent. And we'll take a quick break and be back with more on AM 650 Sea Isle.
There's lots more still ahead. Live from the 2015 Vancouver International Wine Festival, this is Tony and Casey's Best of Food and Wine on Sea Isle 650.